Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. And here in the UK, your host is under volunteered house arrest. Don't worry, I've not done anything wrong, but we are back under lockdown here in the UK until December the 2nd for my good behaviour. And I am allowed to exercise once a day in these new prison-like rules, but I'm going to be running along the canal trying to get fit. But man, it's tough. My good friend Sam Latimer messaged me, who is responsible for this, because he messaged saying, Neil, it's going to be a tough few months under lockdown. So I challenge us both to run 100 miles between November the 1st and December the 31st. Do you accept? Yes, I foolishly did accept, but I don't think I fully understood what I was signing myself up to there, because running in the UK in November, when you're a little bit out of shape, but hey, I don't like to walk away from a challenge. And enough of me, though. Back on with today's show. And you might recall I recently talked about zero trust access solutions that can secure a company's digital transformation. And I had that original conversation with John Peterson from a company called Ericom. And in a perimeterless world, Ericom Cloud delivers secure access controls that aim to keep users connected, productive and secure. But when I heard about the Ericom Application Isolator, I found myself quite intrigued, because it provides enterprise organizations with the capability to add a zero trust network access and micro-segmentation controls to their existing VPN infrastructure and make the process a lot easier. So I felt compelled and wanted to find out more. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to the US, where John Peterson is waiting to speak with us, but he's officially friend of the show now, so will always be JP to us. So let's get him on the podcast right now. So a massive warm welcome back to the show. But for people listening that are still going to be hearing you for the very first time, can you just remind them with a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So thanks. My name is John Peterson. I go by JP, based out here in Silicon Valley, California, and I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Ericom. Been with the company coming up on about a year now, and prior to Ericom, spent many years really kind of as a serial entrepreneur, helping early stage companies get to that late stage point in their life, either through IPOs or acquisitions. Been on the sales engineering side and the product leadership side of the house at companies like NetScreen, Fortinet, Juniper, Cisco, Barracuda Networks, WebSense, and others.
And so much has changed since we last spoke. And there has been an increasing demand, not just to work from home, but to work from anywhere and everywhere now. And as a company that connects applications and browsing sessions from any device, anywhere, I'm curious, what kind of increase in demand have you seen?
Yeah, well, we've definitely seen a huge demand increase in what we have to offer. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19. So COVID-19 has really kind of changed the whole workforce environment, as we all know. Applications are everywhere now. They're no longer sitting on-prem in a data center. Many times they're hosted in some sort of SaaS cloud somewhere. And then users are everywhere, working from home, sometimes working in the office. And then the types of devices they're using are a multitude of devices, laptops and tablets and things like that. So the challenge is, how do you connect all of that up when users are coming from everywhere, applications are everywhere, various types of devices? The kind of remote access in a secure fashion is very, very important these days. And we've definitely seen an increase in the need for what we have to offer.
And the other thing that we don't hear too much about, of course, is that the average home now will have 20 plus other devices all connected to the home network, for everything from doorbells to toasters to TVs and games consoles. So now more than ever, I think we need to start taking this stuff more seriously. And I recently read about the Ericom Application Isolator. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it provides enterprise organizations with that capability to add zero trust network access and micro-segmentation controls to their existing VPN infrastructure. Because, like I said, it's more important than ever now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole work from home culture has definitely increased the attack surface. As a user connects from home to their corporate environment, organizations now have to be conscious of what's connected at the user's home, let alone at the corporate network. So, you could be connected in through an old school VPN to the corporate network, but what that's doing is really bridging your home network to the corporate network. And what's on your home network? You just mentioned smart doorbells and kids playing on the Xbox and things like that. So there needs to be a zero trust way of now connecting everything, because just simply using the old method of connect and then allow full access doesn't work anymore. So we're really helping organizations with our new product called Ericom Application Isolator transition from kind of that full trust environment where you just simply connect the two networks to a zero trust environment where you actually only connect users to the specific applications and networks that they need access to. So that's kind of at a high level what Ericom Application Isolator is all about, is really bringing zero trust network access control to existing VPN infrastructures so that you don't have to break the bank and rip and replace everything.
And I have spoken with a few businesses recently on this podcast, and equally a cybersecurity manager who wanted to go zero trust, but he was having problems with the kind of hassle and length of time it would take to implement it. And it sounds to me like you're tackling that problem head on. So for any decision makers listening that might be thinking zero trust is where they want to go, but it is a lot of hassle, can you just walk me through the process of what is involved in getting it set up on a network?
Yeah, zero trust is not a destination, it's a journey. And it's not a matter of just kind of flipping the switch and then there you go, you're onto this zero trust thing. So what we're trying to do is help organizations with that hassle, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's hard to implement zero trust, especially given that we're in this remote workforce culture. So the idea of taking your existing VPN solution and throwing it out the window and dropping in this new thing called software-defined perimeter or zero trust application access or whatever buzzword you want to put on it is very difficult. And this is one of the main reasons why we decided to create Ericom Application Isolator in the way that we did. We wanted organizations to take their existing tools and capabilities that they have and then enhance it, and over time, potentially slowly replace the VPN. But in the early stages of this transformative journey, augment existing VPNs and things like that and bring zero trust controls to them. Because one of the main things that we saw when COVID-19 hit was organizations didn't start evaluating new modern day technology. They had to scramble and get everybody to a remote workforce kind of environment. And they didn't have the time to rip out VPN and replace it with something new. So this augmentation method that we've come up with has been really, really interesting, because it makes it super, super simple and easy to add zero trust controls to what you already have. Literally allowing an organization to start the journey, not complete it, but to start the journey in a matter of hours versus days or weeks.
And presumably, it is a little more affordable than costly software-defined perimeter technology. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the software-defined perimeter technology that's out there that's really about rip and replace, it becomes very costly. First of all, there's the cost of trying to implement it. And then there's the cost in ripping out the old to replace the new. And then you finally get to what is the cost per user per month for this new service or capability? And typically you'll see in the market that software-defined perimeter type solutions are running about, $8 to $10 per user per month. And keep in mind that new technology is probably going to run in parallel with your VPN technology, because you're not going to just simply be able to rip and replace everything all at once. So you're going to have two types of technology running side by side for a period of time. So you've got the cost of VPN and you've got the cost of this new thing called SDP. Again, $8 to $10 a month for SDP addition. With our solution, we're talking about $2.25 per user per month that works with your existing VPN, right? So we try to make our pricing in line with what users are already comfortable with paying for VPN. And besides the $2.25 per user per month, we also have a free version. And it's not a gimmick. It's not a free trial. It's literally free for life solution for organizations that have a smaller set of users. So that helps people with this kind of transformative journey because there's options, right? There's the free option, and you can't really beat free. And then there's an option that's in line with what users are already accustomed to paying for VPN.
And if we do have any business leaders listening that go straight into the office and say, hey, I've heard about this really cool product, and then they go to the IT director and the techies, et cetera, and then probably send them to this podcast too. So for those techies listening, can you tell me a little bit more about the technical aspects of the solution and anything that will be a particular interest to CTOs and IT directors?
Sure, yeah. So for starters, the solutions, it's all software. So software is easy to install and set up. It's not like you have to send your remote workforce into the office and start setting up, installing hardware all over the infrastructure. It's software. And there's two components in our software stack that actually work with the existing infrastructure. One component is called the access controller, and I liken the access controllers as the brains of the solution. It does all of the telemetry capturing, policy generation, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of that stuff is done in this thing called an access controller. And then there's another software component that's called the isolator. And the isolator, I liken it to the muscle. It's the thing that either allows traffic to flow or not flow. And the access controller component talks to the existing VPN. So let's say a user already has a VPN client on their endpoint. Maybe it's a Fortinet VPN client or Palo Alto Networks VPN client or Checkpoint. And then they connect like they normally do to the Palo Alto or Checkpoint or Fortinet firewall VPN system. Once that user connects to those systems have an integration method to our access controller, where it tells our access controller that user JP just logged on from California. And then the access controller starts to do its work and looks up in its database and finds out, well, what are the applications that user JP is allowed access to? It pulls that out of the database, and then it pushes that to the isolator, again, the muscle function that says, hey, isolator, go ahead and allow JP access to this specific application and only this specific application. The isolator basically has a default deny setting, which makes the entire network and all the applications dark. And then the access controller tells it to light up only specific applications to be seen. At a high level, that's technically how it works.
Gotcha. And for as regards managing it, is there anything you can share around the access policy creation? Is there anything around that you could possibly share as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one of the big things about Zero Trust is to provide least privileged access. I think everybody kind of knows that's what Zero Trust is all about. Yeah. Everybody wants least privilege access. I don't want to give full access. I want to have the least amount of access I possibly can give to my users. So how do you do that? There's a big challenge. It's easy to say that, but how do you actually implement it? And it really comes down to like what the policies actually look like. If you were to try to do what most vendors are doing when they roll out Zero Trust products, is they provide access by way of groups. So let's say that I've got the sales group and I've got the engineering group. And inside the sales group, I might have 1,000 employees. And that group is allowed access to the sales servers and applications. And the engineering group is allowed access to the engineering servers and applications. But we've got this large group of 1,000 people. And you can't treat everybody in the group the same. You might have the VP of sales in the group and then the inside sales guy in the same group. And they need access to different levels of access. So if you try to do this grouping method as your policy, you don't have least privilege access. You still create a scenario of somebody possibly having too much access. So what we've done is said that, well, the only way to get true Zero Trust is to have policy down to the individual user. Like every single user has to have their own policy, not be assigned some sort of group policy. And how do you do that? In an organization with 10,000 employees, for example, how does the security admin even find out what applications users should access? He would have to go inquire around the organizations to find out what Bob should have access to, what Sue should have access to. And then even if he could find that information out, he'd have to get on a keyboard and create all these policies. So what we've done is we've created this thing called learning mode, where you can put the system in learning mode and it will do behavioral analysis and learn over time what applications users are accessing, and then automatically generate individual policies for all, for example, 10,000 users, without the admin having to go inquire and create these policies manually. And I think that's a big key thing. And the way that we do that is we're leveraging kind of user behavior analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning technology to baseline what users access and when they access them.
So if we were to zoom out just for a moment, could you possibly, provide a side-by-side comparison that would just enable listeners to understand the kind of protection businesses would have with, and indeed without, the application isolator?
Yep. So without the application isolator, or this concept, the network is completely lit up. When you connect to it, someone can see anything and everything that's on the network. And that means if a hacker were to gain access to the network, that hacker could see anything and everything on the network. So first comparison, I guess, is having what I'll call a lit network versus a dark network. With the Ericom Application Isolator, it basically makes the network dark by default. And what that means is, imagine walking into a home and all of the lights are off. You can't see anything. You want to try to access a room, but everything's dark and everything is locked. And then what this solution does, it only opens up the doors and illuminates applications or rooms that you should have access to. And what that does is it reduces the attack surface significantly, because a hacker can't attack what they can't see. That's probably the main differences. The other difference is that this solution also has monitoring capabilities in it, whereas you might have to have some other type of solution deployed for monitoring. So monitoring is integrated into the solution. What that means is that I can now not only allow access to certain things, but once I do allow access to those things, I can start to monitor things about that access. Who's accessing it? When are they accessing it? Where are they accessing it from? How much data have they transmitted from that application? And then you can start to use all of those things to look for other types of abnormal activity and improve your security posture by reacting to those abnormalities. So those are kind of the main things I think that makes the difference for it all. And probably the last thing I would say is that, like I stated earlier, zero trust is not a destination, it's a journey. When organizations start to deploy Ericom Application Isolator, it puts them on a path for the future and allows them to leverage the existing investment that they have right now with VPNs and other things, start to add zero trust. And then as we start adding more capability to the zero trust model, they will easily be able to continue that transformation.
Love that. And it seems like an incredibly exciting space at the moment. And it has been a very difficult year, but we are starting to head towards another year. Hopefully there'll be a lot more hope, excitement, and maybe opportunity as well. So is there anything you can share about that road ahead, or anything that businesses you think should be looking out for over the next 12 months?
Yeah, great question. So that's really all about that journey, right? Yeah. So next year, some of the things that I think that are going to be very key for the industry, as well as for the solutions we're providing at Ericom, is SASE, or referred to as Secure Access Service Edge. And what Secure Access Service Edge is all about is bringing not only the zero trust controls that we've been talking about to a cloud delivered solution, but bringing other capabilities into that same cloud solution. So the road ahead is really the integration of all of these things, again, that journey. So think about zero trust network access being part of a cloud delivered solution. Think about remote browser isolation being another feature or capability of that solution. Think about intrusion prevention, antivirus, anti-phishing, data leakage prevention, firewall as a service. All of those capabilities start to kind of merge into a single secure access service edge offering versus organizations having to have point products for this problem or that problem. I really start to look at each of the individual things as features of something bigger. And that's really what next year is going to bring to the table, I believe, is the integration of all of this.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, JP. But before I let you go, could I just ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find out more information about everything that we talked about today, and equally contact your team if they do have any questions?
Sure. Yeah. So, first place is visit our website, right? So www.ericom, spelled ERICOM.com. It's the first place that you can go, and there you can download the free version of what we've been talking about, or read about it, or watch some videos about it. But the other place I would send your listeners to is LinkedIn. So we've been doing a lot of activity on social media. Just go to LinkedIn and search for Ericom, and you'll see blogs and videos and discussions that you might want to become a part of and help with the debate and conversation around zero trust access controls.
Excellent. Well, I'll add that link, all those links to the blog post that will accompany this episode. And I love what you're doing here, especially that capability to add zero trust network access and micro-segmentation controls to existing VPN infrastructure. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people coming your way and asking for more details on that. But more than anything, a big thank you for coming back on the podcast and talking with me today. Thank you.
Great. And thanks again, Neil. It's been a pleasure as always.
What an interesting conversation. And I did forget to mention there when I was chatting with JP that cloud-delivered Zero Trust Browser Isolation service that they run as well was also recognised for protecting organisations against email threats such as ransomware and phishing attacks too. So a belated congrats to JP and everyone at Ericom there, because the Ericom Shield won Cybersecurity Breakthrough Award for its isolation-based email security service. A big congrats there. But did today's conversation make you want to go on a zero trust journey? JP did make a great point there that it is a journey and not a destination. But is that something that you're interested in doing? I'd love to hear your experiences with zero trust environments and going through the pain of setting everything up. And indeed, if you've worked with Ericom, your experiences there, whatever it is, let me know. techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You should know that by now. But please keep your messages coming in. Keep me smiling throughout a lockdown period. This is your true calling, to keep your podcast host in good spirits as he sits in a room on his own talking into a microphone. But more than anything, just a big, genuine thank you for tuning into this podcast. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.